Hi and welcome. We've got a bonus little segment of the Polite Society podcast. We just recorded episode 273. Feel free to look that up on YouTube, and that'll be released as well as this as episode 273, probably releasing sometime tomorrow.
What is that date going to be? Let's just say that so that when we have it up on YouTube, people will know what date we recorded it on.
We're recording this on the 5th of October, so it'll probably release sometime tomorrow on the 6th.
All right, October 5th in 2014.
Yep. And Gary and I are right here. We're going to, when we lead in here in a second, we're going to be talking bug out bags. And this is part of the series we're going to be doing. We plan on it being a weekly series about prepping and prepping topics. So be ready to go here in just a second. And I think, yeah, we don't need any of that stuff. So, yep, we're.
I love the live television.
There we go.
Put the airs in.
All right. And, all right, coming back in 5. Hey, and welcome back. This is our prepping segment. Gary Harpster, of course, with the man behind ABN Army Surplus here in Sioux Falls, is with us. And Gary, this week we want to talk a little bit about bug out bags. Now that's something that is fairly common nomenclature, known at least around the prepping community, if not the general public. What I want to know is for bug out bags, generally what people think when they think bug out bag is stuff is happening. I've got to get out of the house. I got to get out right now. What I'm wondering is, does each person need a bug out bag? Do you need a bug out bag for the entire family? What size do you need? Let's get it. First of all, does each person need a bug out bag, or do you do a bug out bag for the family?
Well, that depends. Bug out bags, like you say, is kind of a general catch-all phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, most of it is silly. And I start with that by saying like a silly bug out bag. Most folks are thinking that mentality. They say, well, I need a bag that I can do da-da-da-da-da with.
Right.
And the truth of the matter is that bug out bags, there are a wide variety of them and a lot of wide uses for them. And there's no one bag that's perfect for anything. Each family has to kind of make that decision on their own. There are bug out bags for somebody who's 76 years old, bug out bag for somebody who's 28 years old, bug out bag for a 118-pound woman, bug out bag for a 260-pound guy who's a football player and or ex-military. You have a lot of different choices on that. And let's get into that here. I'll kind of explain bug out bags, kind of a 1, 2, 3.
Okay, so bug out bag 1, 2, 3.
Silly bug out bags first.
Okay.
That's something that you're going to buy already put together. And I will tell you that all of the wholesalers that wholesale to retailers like myself in the business, almost all of them have some kind of a bug out bag available for sale. And you will see them on websites, lots of survival sites that say you can buy this bug out bag. Here's everything it's got in it. Keep in mind that the main purpose of a retail store is to make money.
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, most retail stores go about doing those kinds of things, particularly online stores, by buying the cheapest product they possibly can with the highest markup available. If you're buying something for $1 and the manufacturer's retail is $2, you're not going to make as much as if you're buying it for $1 and the retail manufacturer's $5. So most of the stuff that comes in those already designed kits is for all practical purposes going to be on the lower end of quality, okay? And they're going to put a number of those things in there. And you don't have choices in the sense if you buy a bug out bag and you think, well, the bag is nice, but it may have a really cheap Chinese flashlight in it. It may have matches, and they'll say waterproof, but they're not strike anywhere matches. Waterproof match is worthless if the box gets wet.
Right.
Lots of little things like that go into how you would want to think about a bag. And that's why I call them silly bags. Because the first recommendation I have is that nobody purchase a bag from a retailer, an online survival store, or anything else unless they can physically see the bag, physically see what's inside of it, and make that judgment call, and or go into a retail store like ours or any one of a number of other good quality surplus stores are a little bit better than the big chain stores as far as doing this, and sit down and talk with somebody about what your individual needs are and have them help you build a bag. Now, granted, you're not likely to find this, and I'm going to use some name brand names here. You're not likely to find this at Shields. You're not likely to find it at Cabela's if you go into those kinds of stores, because most of the time you're going to be talking with a retail clerk in a department who doesn't have any background necessarily on the product itself, more or less the use of the product.
Hmm.
There always are exceptions. As you and I both know, for example, our local Shields here has a wonderful gun section. The guys in the gun section shoot on a regular basis. They know their stuff.
Hmm.
But the guys in the camping section, not so much.
Right.
Okay. Whereas if you go to a surplus store or a small mom and pop store like ours, you're talking to somebody who's been in the military, been in the police department, has a bug out bag, survival classes. They've got the background that goes with them. So my first thing would say, regardless of where you are in the country, find the little ABN in your neighborhood or in your town and go in and start talking to them if you're starting from scratch, rather than purchasing a bug out bag already filled up online or from one of the stores, because you're not really sure what you're going to get. So rule number one is see it before you buy it.
Hmm.
Um, Two, when you're talking to bug out bags, and kind of getting a little bit back to your question, you have to think about a series of bug out bags. A good example would be, should everybody have their own bug out bag? Answer would be yes. In a family of four, you would have four small bug out bags. But then there'd be another bag for the family, and maybe another bag for the car, and maybe a couple bags in the basement, substantially bigger, that would be hunkered down bags.
Hmm.
If you've got two or three locations where you say, if a tornado hits our town, we're going to go here. We're going to go to our grandparents' house. We're going to go to our daughter's house in another town, something like that. You may want to keep supplies there. Uh, so how you draw your picture will depend very much on the individuals and their families. One small bug out bag per person in the household. And the reason that I say that is because even the kids should have a bug out bag. And when you're talking about a bug out bag, you're talking about, you and I travel a lot.
Yep.
I always have a 3 4 day weekend packed,
Hmm.
right, for me to go traveling with. The bug out bag is essentially the same thing as a weekend getaway bag. You and your wife are going to run out. You always got one packed for your truck. You're a truck driver. My wife and I run back and forth to Minneapolis all the time. We always have a little bag all packed. A bug out bag is kind of the same thing with you. With mom is going to want certain things in. Good example is that if and I hate to sound sexist about this, but oftentimes the mother is the primary food maker in the family,
Hmm.
or menu producer, even if she doesn't necessarily do the day to day cooking. Most likely, the 6 year old isn't responsible for that. But the 6 year old has needs too. Do they have a favorite book or a favorite series of books or some cartoons or comic books that they like? A particular stuffed toy that they've always been attached to? Maybe something they don't play with anymore, but if that's all they had available at their sister in law's house 200 years ago, maybe they want to keep that toy and they want to keep it for their grandchildren. So that's kind of what I would say. the stress that you're going to have with your animals is also going to be a little bit less. So when you think about your family members in bug out bags, to answer your question simply, there isn't an answer. Everything is individual. Address it based on the people. Get some outside help from, for lack of a better term, I'll say a professional or an expert at one of the local stores. Help you build a bug out bag.
Sure. So now my understanding of bug out bags and being around preppers for a good amount of time, and I consider myself a little bit of a prepper. I'm certainly not an expert, but I'm learning. But my understanding of a bug out bag is to get you through 72 hours. Is that's
reasonable? Right? That's kind of the rule of thumb. Yep, and I say the same thing: 3 to 4 days, and that's why I say there are different levels of bug out bags. That would be the bag that you could have packed in your house, and if something happened and you needed to leave this very second, you needed to just go out the door dressed in what you were dressed in and go, you'd want to be able to pick something up and take it with you, which in essence is the same thing you and I do when we travel. We grab our 3-day bag, goes in the car. Mm-hmm. You want that level of a bug out bag, something you can take with you and you know it's going to get you by for 3 or 4 days. Now, in your car, like in my truck, I have a bigger bug out bag. I set up my cars for 7 days. Okay. And that's a separate bag. So I may not necessarily have the same changes of underwear, and but I might have more snacks. I might have something that's not going to be affected by weather. A good example is the Coast Guard water packs. I've showed you those.
Sure, the ones that are freezable.
Right. Yep. They freeze thaw, right? Mm-hmm. I have those in my car bug out bag. I don't have them in my 72-hour pack. I do not have that same water and entity in my bug out bag, because my bug out bag has got water bottles and canteens and bladders in it, that type of thing. So that bug out bag, when I go out the door, can have a couple of bottled waters in it and some kind of a container for me to get more water in. Then the bug out bag that's a little bit bigger, that's in the car, has a whole bunch of those water packets in it all the time. So if I've got to jump in the car and go somewhere, I've got water.
So when you say you've got a bug out bag that you carry for 3 days and then you got one for about a week in the car, now is that saying that you got one for 3 days and then 4 additional in the car? Or if you were to have to bug out, you grab your 3-day kit and you got another 7 days in the car, do you now have 10 days?
10 days more or less. I call it 7 altogether, like you say, is it 4 not? Because characteristically, I've got stuff you don't. I'm going to help somebody along the way. Mm-hmm. So I build my kits to the larger size, mm-hmm, to make sure that I've got more than I'm probably going to need in 7 or 8 days in the truck, maybe 9 or 10 days worth of food, or even 11 or 12 days worth of food. I don't have to worry about sharing my underwear with you.
No.
Thankfully. Right?
Yes.
But it'd be nice to have some extra food along, just in case, like you say, we take up out of here and end up in Mitchell, South Dakota, folks, by the way. And we've got to be down for 2 or 3 days, and right sitting next to you is a grandma and a grandpa who ran out the door without anything. Is it nice that I have an extra poncho? Yeah. Is it nice that between me and another neighbor, we've got enough food where we can say, hey, folks, come on over, we're going to feed you.
Right.
So, yeah, a little bit bigger when you put the 72 together with the car kit. I probably, maybe if it was just me all by myself, might even get 11, 12, 13 days without having to sweat it. But I'd say 8 to 9 to 10 would be about what that package would come together for.
Okay. So now for your personal bug out bag, speaking as Gary Harpster, is your bag yours a duffel type? Is yours a backpack type? What do you prefer for you?
Well, good question. And here, I think that's a great question, because most people think of a bug out bag as something that they're going to have to carry. Now, if you're going to have to carry it, you've got weight as an issue, you've got size, and you've got balance as an issue. And I would say that most of the bug out bags we sell here to people under the age of 40 are bags that are designed to be carried. A really good bag that's put together with a lot of survival equipment in it. Go over 40, we build an entirely different kind of bag, because most people at that age start getting into the fact, I'm probably not going to throw 50 pounds on my back and hump 10 miles a day for the next 3 weeks in order to be able to survive something. It's just physically not going to happen. That kind of a bag would be more like a duffel, what we call a top zipped duffel,
Right.
which would be something they would grab and throw in the car. Now, they wouldn't be able to haul it very far. You know, if they had to walk, they'd have their hands full. We sell some, for example, many stores do, where it's got backpacks and handles. But we build a lot of 72-hour bug out bags out of the zippered duffels that people can grab and throw in the trunk of the car, because the presumption is they're going to be able to drive to somewhere. And again, when we're doing this, we're looking at the most likely scenario, not the end of the world scenario, which goes back to that beginning about the silliness of disaster sites online. They're talking about the end of the world, zombie kind of, we're going to have to get into this giant battle to survive. Well, if that's the situation, most of us can kiss our butt. I mean, that's the truth of the matter. The few serious preppers, maybe. Do you need a $500,000 bunker in order to be able to survive the collapse of the world? Maybe. But most people, it's the ice storm, it's the tornado, it's the hurricane. Maybe it's an economic collapse of some kind that's associated with a man-made or a natural disaster. Let's take the Ebola things in the news. If there's an Ebola scare in New Orleans, which is a huge oil port, and a tremendous amount of product that people use in the United States comes in and out of there. What if that scare gets just a little bit out of hand, and all of a sudden people start evacuating that place like crazy? Now all of a sudden a lot of supplies that come into the Midwest start shortening up, and then now people are getting scared in Dallas and Oklahoma.
Or what if that thing gets turned around in reverse? What if there's an Ebola scare and all of a sudden a small town of I don't know, Cleveland, Indiana. I don't know if there is a Cleveland, Indiana, but what if your town all of a sudden is quarantined?
Right, exactly. So that's what I say. There are a lot of situations where you look for what's likely to happen, not necessarily preparing for the end of the world. As you and I both know, being shooters, you know, some things are pretty basic about your bug out bag. You're going to have to protect your property. If you're a serious prepper of any kind, even a mom and dad prepper, and you've got some supplies, inevitably somebody knows you got them.
Yep.
So you're going to have some kind of a defensive system. You know, right off the bat, even if it's mom and pop in their 60s, they're going to need water. 22-year-old's going to need water. He's single. Family of 4 in their 40s are going to need water. So you've got protection. You've got water. You have to be able to have food. So right there are your first 3 things that you're looking at. And when you think bug out bag, it's a matter of now, how much of that am I going to be able to transport, and what's the most likely way that I'm going to have to transport it? And then that's where you go back and start thinking about how to build the bug out bag.
So I think that's a great topic that we should get into when we come back and do. I don't think we're even close. I think we just scratched the surface.
Just scratch the surface.
I think we need to talk about this again next week when we do this segment.
Wonderful. Love to get into it more.
All right. So we are coming up on break, and we'll be right back right after this. I don't know what happened, but and we are recorded, but we dropped out in the middle again. Back. But
the internet dropped out again?
Yeah, the internet dropped out. And to our viewers, I'm going to say thank you for watching again. And we will be doing this probably the exact same way next Sunday. I think this kind of feels comfortable.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, yeah, you're good now.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep, we'll look forward to it. And if nobody objects, we'll put these up on our website. And I don't know if you want to put them up on politics. You have them all up on politics anyway, can't you?
Yep. Okay. They can all go to our YouTube channel. Yep. These all show up right in a row on our YouTube
wonderful
channel.
And we'll add those links in onto ABN's site as well, so folks can follow our series on that.
You bet. So we'll thank you again, viewers, and we'll see you next week.